Welcome to Gaiy Fairfax, a weekly news magazine sharing news, views, and pride. I'm Michelle Michaels.
And I'm Barry Forbes. Each week we'll feature events and personalities of interest to the gay women and men in Northern Virginia.
On today's edition, we'll meet George Belanger, the national commander of a national group of gay veterans. We'll also talk to Lucy Lee Reed, the executive director of the Northern Virginia AIDS Ministry, also known as NOVAM.
And we'll wrap up the edition with an upfront concert and a backstage chat with the Lesbian and Gay Chorus of Washington, D.C. But first, with the gay trivia, here's Peg McCraw.
I'm Peg McCraw with today's trivia question. In what animals has homosexuality been observed and formally studied? The answer later in the show.
Thank you, Peg. Since the times of Alexander the Great, gay men and women have served their country in the military. And in spite of a Pentagon report which praises the service of gay men and women, the American Armed Forces continue to discriminate. George Belanger hopes to change all that by helping gay service men and women fight their dishonorable discharges. I recently spoke to George about his battles on the front lines of civil rights in the military. George Belanger, thank you very much for joining us on Gaiy Fairfax today. Now, as I understand that you're the head of the Gay Vets. Now, what's the full title of your organization?
Well, thanks for having me. The National Association of American Gay Veterans.
And what's your title with this organization?
National Commander.
National Commander.
Right.
Well, you're in charge of the whole thing, aren't you?
Somebody has to be a whip.
That's good. Well, tell me, when did the organization really begin? How old is the organization?
Well, it had its birth about 3 years ago with 15 people. And in a short time, we went to 500 people. And since we went national on the first or the last week of July, we have gone to 22,000 plus people.
That's incredible. Well, what's the purpose of the organization that would attract so many people to your organization?
Well, we've, like everybody else, have decided it's time for us to unite, to get the populace to know that we exist. We always have existed. It's just a matter of finally directing ourselves into one purpose. Essentially, we're trying to work on getting discharges corrected, working to get, for instance, H.R. 2096, which is a new bill that was proposed, reference to the Veterans Affairs, to have a minority liaison appointed. They have appointed in the four major, or the four natural groups of minorities. They added women, but they left out gays. So we're working on getting that changed.
Well, it sounds like you really have a plate full of activities. Let's focus in on one first off. You mentioned that you work with people's, dishonorable discharges. Is that the problem you're working with? How many people are discharged from the armed forces because of their sexual orientation?
Better than 2,000 to 3,000 people a year.
Really?
Yeah, are discharged in that way. And they're discovered in many different ways.
And so these people then go to your organization saying, hey, I've got a dishonorable discharge. Is there anything you can do about that? Is that basically how it happens?
We try to work with people like that. We have gone to some of the discharge points and picked up some of the people there, looked at their discharges and talked to them, found out the causes, and immediately try to get things started before they ever even get home.
That's great. How many people do you really work with in discharges?
Oh, my God. On a national basis, it's so many, we have never really kept count on that so far. We have a little over 150 people working actively throughout the United States. There are 7 veterans organizations. You got Boston, you got Wisconsin, San Diego, San Francisco, Texas, D.C., and New York. New York is one of the older veterans, gay veterans organizations in the country right now.
That's terrific. Well, how successful are you in getting discharges changed to being honorable discharges?
Well, out of the last 25 that I personally was involved in, all 25 have been changed. So
that's terrific.
Yeah.
Well, once you have this liaison, what's the advantage of having a liaison in the military?
Well, for one thing, we'll be able to get these discharges changed quicker. We'll be able to be asked to appear to different points as in the discharge processes, review boards and what have you. There are all little ways of helping, but anything will work.
Well, wouldn't it be easier to make sure that there aren't any disarmable discharges at all?
That's what the ultimate goal, and the Department of Defense regulation or directive on that is up for changing at this time. As it's come out many times, the government has done studies and found that homosexuals don't give up the secrets as fast as heterosexuals.
Really?
So,
There was just a report out about that, wasn't there?
right. There have been several reports. There was one done in 1941. There was one done in 1954. And there was a recent release last year as well on the same issue.
So why is there still a problem with the armed forces not recognizing the fact that there are gays in the military and that they should not be discharged dishonorably?
Well, I would say the main problem is because people are still afraid to come out. If we didn't have to lie, by getting rid of this regulation, we won't have to lie. The same reason people in Congress, they have to lie to get in for their first term. So,
well,
you know, if they didn't have to lie, then they could get in. So it's the same thing all over. If we get rid of it in the Department of Defense, it'll disappear everywhere.
Okay. So your organization works in changing discharges. You work with a number of chapters around the country. You're working legislatively.
Right.
What else do you do as gay vets?
Well, we have social functions just like every other group. We have planned a military ball. We plan on having 3 or 4 of them a year. The next one will be in May. But the first one we hope would have over 20,000 people there. And then we'll march on Congress.
Oh, so you do have some kind of political action, too, besides working within the halls of Congress?
Right. Right.
And you expect 20,000 people marching?
Not marching, actually being at the ball, dancing.
Dancing.
But we'll ultimately march them to Congress.
That's terrific. Yeah. That's really super. What else does the organization do for a gay vet?
Well, they call us and tell us what they need, and we'll work with them. If we can't do anything ourselves, we'll find the sources that can do something for them. Presently, we have a staff of 15 attorneys, 5 of which are not gay, but do want to work on these issues. And one in particular just loves to change and fight the system. So he's ideal for it.
Sounds like a good person to have on your side.
Right.
Well, that's terrific. What other kinds of calls do you get from gay vets? You have received letters, I know, and calls. What have people been saying about your organization?
Well, most of them are saying it's about bliggity-blank in time. They just feel that it's long overdue. And as I said, the 7 organizations throughout the country are now being united to form one front and to fight that way. It'll work better for us.
Now, have local veterans groups at all embraced the notion of recognizing gay vets?
The American Legion has acknowledged and given a chapter to a post in San Francisco. It's the Alexander Hamilton Post, Post 448. Not too publicly known, naturally. The VFW, unfortunately, will not recognize us. They took a stance against us, but we'll make them.
Have you had a lot of gay women involved with the organization as well?
Not as many as we'd like to have. They just don't want to come out of the woodwork for some reason, but we're working on them.
Terrific. Well, let's say you want to get me involved. I'm a gay vet. What would I have to do to get involved with the organization?
Well, just to give us a letter telling us your name, your address, when you served, what branch of the Army, military you served in, and send us $3 so we can take care of the postage. And then we'll send you out an application about the Veterans Organization and send you a newsletter. And we'll also send you a membership card once we have your dues paid in.
Terrific. George Belanger of the National Association of American Gay Vets.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Right.
Northern Virginia AIDS Ministry is in its 3rd year of providing what they call the Christian response to AIDS. Providing education, combating prejudice, offering financial assistance, and sharing spiritual comfort are what they call the true Christian response to this epidemic. Dave Hughes talked to Lucy Lee Reed, the executive director of NOVAM, about these Good Samaritans in Northern Virginia.
Lucy Lee, thank you for joining us here today on Gaiy Fairfax. What is the Northern Virginia AIDS Ministry?
Well, thank you for having me, Dave. The Northern Virginia AIDS Ministry, or NOVAM, as we are called, is a small nonprofit organization formed about 3 years ago by a group of churches and individuals who felt a need in this crisis. And we have a board of directors. At the present moment, we have about 15 members on our board, and we have a few people who are paid, but we are largely a volunteer organization and have about 100 active people who work in the organization.
Great. What types of programs or services does NOVAM offer?
Well, as your audience may see if they see our logo, we have sort of a three-pronged effort that we make in this field. The first is direct assistance, and that was our original idea in being formed, and we feel still the most important thing we do. And that is we give direct financial assistance to persons with AIDS who are recommended to us through various social workers and health professionals. In addition to that, we have helped to sponsor the only residence in Northern Virginia for persons with AIDS, a small place, but it's called the Gary Thomas House. And in addition, we have volunteer services directly to persons with AIDS, housekeeping, assisting with meals, things of that nature, transportation being one of our really big areas that we help out. So that's the program area that we call direct assistance. Then, of course, we list education as a very important part of what we do. And we have several areas that we assist in that, but the most important that we're talking about right now is a wonderful program that we had started last year called Face to Face. The director, Penny Lane, has been interviewed on this channel before, and she is a volunteer, and she has, along with many other people, created this excellent program where a person with AIDS or an HIV-positive person, fully trained by us, along with a healthcare professional, goes into schools or church youth groups or other organizations that may ask them to come. And we're very proud of that particular program.
Okay. You mentioned that that has been in place for about a year now. Have you had very many people calling for a couple speakers to come and address their group or meeting? Or?
As a matter of fact, as we're tooling up for the school year here this fall, the phone is ringing off the wall because we did go into a number of places, private schools and public schools, in the Northern Virginia area, and I believe one even in D.C., where we were asked, and the reaction to it has been so favorable that we are interviewing and training people practically as we speak, because we have so many requests that are beginning to come in. So we're very hopeful that this program, directed largely toward adolescents, will begin to have some real impact across the Northern Virginia area. We're mighty proud of it.
Oh, very good. In fact, have you had very many requests for speakers here in Fairfax County or among the Fairfax schools?
We have not been asked by the Fairfax schools, but we would love to be and would look forward to an opportunity to present the program to them. One of the good things that this offers, that we offer and recommend, is that they take a preview for parents and the teachers who are going to be involved. And we will present a preview of the program before the children see it.
Okay, so that way if there's any, if anybody has any concerns about whether this is, you know, what their children are hearing, that sort of thing, that those can be alleviated.
Absolutely.
Very good. Now, the use of the word ministry in the NOVAM title does sort of imply a religious affiliation. And you mentioned that there were a group of churches that got together to start this. Any particular religious denominations or particular backgrounds that are making up this group?
Well, as you see, the third word on our logo is, third phrase is spiritual support. And yes, we are very strongly supported throughout the Northern Virginia area, and some money from other parts of Virginia comes very strongly from churches in the area. We represent quite a number of different denominations. We were heavily supported at the beginning by the Episcopal Church, but we now have strong support from many other denominations, and in fact we have Unitarian and Jewish congregations who are both volunteers and money givers, and we're very pleased to have that kind of support. In our program, as we were talking about programs, our spiritual support portion of our programs, we're very proud of our 24-hour-a-day pastoral support that's available to anyone who wishes to call in, either a person with AIDS, a person who has found they are HIV positive, or a family member or a friend.
Now, has most of the funding that, or maybe all of the funding that you have received come from the churches that are involved, or do you also have individuals who give donations, grants from companies? Okay. How do you get your funding?
We have been running about 1/3 churches, 1/3 individuals, and 1/3 grants and foundations.
How might anybody get in touch with you, whether it be to request the services of NOVAM or request speakers in the face-to-face program or to donate, any such things? How might somebody get in touch with your group?
Anyone who would like to speak to us can call us at our number, which is easy to remember, 739-AIDS. 739-AIDS.
Okay, and are there particular hours they should call?
We are starting on, right after the holidays, we will be open, that is the September holidays, we will be open at the office from 9 till 4. So you should be able to reach someone, and if not, as I say, the pastoral counseling is available through our machine on the telephone.
Okay, great. Well, Lucy Lee, I'd like to thank you very much for taking a little bit of time out of your schedule to talk with us here at Gaiy Fairfax.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Great.
If you'd like to meet other gay men and women in the Fairfax County area, why not join the Fairfax Lesbian and Gay Citizens Association? FLGCA, as it's known, holds regular social events, hosts membership meetings with speakers, and they also promote educational projects such as a Speakers Bureau and, of course, Gaiy Fairfax.
Find out how you can join FLGCA by writing Post Office Box 2322, Springfield, Virginia, 22152, or give a call directly by calling 703-451-9528.
Not only can gay men and women get along together, they can also sing along together as well. The Lesbian and Gay Chorus of Washington proves that men and women can harmonize beautifully. Here's a glimpse at one of their performances at the 1990 D.C. Gay Pride celebration.
With me today are two people from the Lesbian and Gay Chorus of Washington, D.C. On your left, the director, Mark Bowman, and to my immediate right, Diana Buttram, the facilitator of the group. And what is the Lesbian and Gay Chorus of Washington, D.C.?
We have a purpose statement that we came up with a couple of years ago, which is that we were formed with the purpose of making quality music, to foster gender cooperation within the lesbian and gay community, to demonstrate lesbian and gay pride through musical expression, develop talent from within the lesbian and gay community, and have fun.
Great.
The chorus is just beginning its 7th season of singing now. We do 2 major concerts a year, usually one in January and one in May, and we spend the preceding months rehearsing and preparing for those concerts. In those concerts, we do a wide variety of music, everything from Renaissance madrigals to contemporary pop music. And we draw significant numbers of the lesbian and gay community to our concerts, and families and friends of the chorus.
Very
The chorus began in 1984. An activist in the community, Diana Wilcox, decided there was already a men's chorus in town and a feminist chorus, and there should be a mixed chorus too. So she organized some folks to begin singing together. They arranged with a woman, Tess Garcia, to be their initial director, and they performed their first concert in Christmas time, I think it was in 1984. Small group of about 14 to 16 singers, and I always say the chorus has really just steadily grown since that time. I began directing the chorus in 1986, and at that time the chorus had about the same number of people, about 16 people, and we've just gradually grown over the years till now we have about 50 singers. Some of the high points of those, there are a lot that I would mention that are probably not as significant for other people. One of the big things that's been exciting for the chorus was last summer we traveled to Seattle, where we sang in a festival with about 2,000 other lesbian and gay singers from around the country. We're part of an organization called Gayla, which is an association of lesbian and gay choruses around the country. And it was a marvelous week there in which all the choruses performed individually. And then, of course, we also produced some joint numbers for a final concert. In terms of other high points, it's actually interesting. We've sort of had a close relationship with the Names Project, the AIDS quilt, which a lot of our audience, I'm sure, has heard about. 3 or 4 years ago, we did a cabaret. It was our first effort at which a lot of individual chorus members provided solo numbers, and in which we did a major fundraiser, which actually raised $4,000 or $5,000 for the quilt. And then when the quilt was first here, I think it was a year later in '88, we were part of a large concert which the Names Project itself produced, that included many well-known singers and songwriters that produced a major concert for the quilt. One of our trademarks over the past few years has been taking Broadway musicals and sort of rewriting them to be more reflective of our lesbian and gay experience. We're taking Bernstein's West Side Story, and what's going to be called Northwest Side Story, and it will be an interesting venture in terms of producing some of the music from that show within a context and tell our story. We're also excited about, I mentioned the Gala Festival in Seattle a year ago. We will be looking forward to, in the summer of 1992, we'll be traveling to Denver, when there will be another festival of lesbian and gay choruses around the country. At this point, we don't know if there will be 3,000 singers there or 4,000 singers there, and it will be a marvelous time for us to get to meet choruses and hear choruses from other parts of the country.
Great. Well, how does one go about getting involved with the chorus? And also, for people who are just interested in attending chorus concerts, how can they find out about them or keep in touch?
Well, the address that they should write to keep in touch with chorus events is P.O. Box 65285, Washington, D.C. 20035. They can also phone 202-546-1549 for information. We maintain a mailing list, and all you have to do is tell us you want to be on our mailing list, and we'll keep you informed about upcoming events.
And if you'd like to sing, I would just add, as Dinah said earlier, we are a non-auditioned chorus. We have a wide range of musical talent in the chorus, from people who have had professional music experience to people who do not read music and haven't sung since they were in college 20 years ago. And everyone's welcome. We just work with the community that we have together.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you very much for taking time out to share with us about the Lesbian and Gay Chorus of Washington.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you, David.
Well, how did you do with this week's trivia question? Here's Peg with the answer.
And now the answer to our trivia question. Homosexuality has been observed in lions, male, seagulls, female, and in monkeys, both male and female.
Well, that about wraps up this edition of Gaiy Fairfax. Remember, you can catch us every week at this time. Next week, we'll feature the gay Catholic organization called Dignity.
Plus, you'll enjoy the sweet sounds of the chorus of the Metropolitan Community Church. That's the country's largest church ministering to gay men and women. That's all coming up next week on Gaiy Fairfax.
For Gaiy Fairfax, I'm Michelle Michaels.
And I'm Barry Forbes. Thank you for joining us, and remember to keep the pride alive.
We shall not give up.